In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 things that I keep in mind when I'm starting a new song. So, let's go. Hi, my name is Pete and welcome to Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record and release your best music. Today, I'm going to go through a bit of a 6-step process that I kind of use on most of the songs that I create, so that if you're stuck, if you're right at the start of your songwriting process, then keeping these 6 things in mind might help you get over that creative hurdle and start creating your song. Let's dive into it right now. Now, let me start by saying not everybody's workflow works this way. If you just like to sit down and start jamming on some chords and see what happens, more power to you. But more often these days, I tend to go through these 6 things. And these are my 6 key parts of a song, what I need to keep in mind. Number 1 is the hook. We need some sort of hook in our song that's going to be the riff, it's going to be the chord progression, it's going to be the vocal hook, something that is going to make the song interesting. Number 2 is a surprise element. So I think pretty much every song needs to take a little bit of a left turn at some stage throughout so that you've got something in there to keep the interest of the listener. Number 3, what instrumentation are you using? It's pretty simple, but it's pretty important as well. Number 4 is the tempo. So getting a feel for how fast or slow you want it to be. Number 5 is the topic. What are you actually writing about? What if this is going to have lyrics? What are those lyrics going to be about? What a story are you trying to tell? Do you have a character? Is it just a concept? And number 6, and probably most importantly, is what feeling are you going for? What feeling are you going to put in your song, and what do you want your end listener to feel? So let's spend a little bit of time on each of these 6 things, and I'll demonstrate as we go through with the song that I'm writing here in September 2020. So let's start with the hook. Now, I've got my guitar here because the song that I'm writing at the moment, the hook that I've written so far, we'll just turn up the volume. You can hear my guitar amp in the background there. The hook that I've written is a little sort of leady, rhythmy kind of riff, and it goes a little something like this. So that's the idea of what I've got so far. I've got Bias FX2 over here. My headphones are falling off. So the hook, the idea of a hook is to have something that is kind of returned to throughout the song. So it can be that catchy chorus line, or in this case, what I'm going with in this song so far, and remember, things are going to change. Don't be afraid, they are going to change throughout your process, but I want to have that as my hook. So that's going to be the element that we have in there, is that probably the intro of the song is going to do the... And this leads itself, because that's in a D, this leads itself to being something in drop D tuning, which I actually love using me some dropped D. So that is where we are at with the hook so far. If you're writing another song, your hook could be a piano part, your hook could be a drum beat or a loop. The actual loop that comes in and is throughout your song can be the hook, or it can be a chorus or a melody. So at this stage, don't even have a melody, but that is where we're at with the hook. Let's move on to part 2, which is our surprise. So surprise elements can be anything. It can be an a cappella part in the middle of your song. It can be switching up to a different tempo, a different time signature, a different key signature, bringing in a different instrument, removing a bunch of instruments. It can be whatever you like. So far, what I've got for this song, where's my pick, is the surprise element is that it's going to start, again, with that riff. Let's turn the volume back up on the guitar. It's going to start with our... And then I want this to have a bit of a 90s rock feel. So what it's going to then do is drop into almost a little bit of a more of a hard rock kind of riff, which is going to do a drop, again, the drop D. And then just play those sort of chords for a while. That's going to be sort of the riff, and I don't know whether that's the chorus or the verse at this stage, but it's the second sort of complementary riff we have. So is it a surprise? Not really. That's probably something I need to work on a little bit more. So what we can probably do is jump over to the notebook again, and let's put in a few notes on these first couple before we move on. So our hook here is going to be our lead riff on the D chord, as we've done there. Our surprise at this stage is going to be probably a distorted drop D chords that we just played there. So this is giving us an idea of what we're building up here. Next step, we need to work out what sort of instrumentation do we think we want in this song. Let's jump into that now. So at this point in the process, I'm really just doing some brainstorming here. So what we definitely know we want is some heavy guitar, definitely there at the start, and we probably want multiple guitars. So I kind of want a bit of a wall of guitar sound here. Definitely want some chorus or flange on those guitars. Let's just bring this one out here. We've got a bit more room to write like so. So that's sort of an idea there. I don't think I want any acoustic. So I'm actually going to note that because I do have acoustic guitar in a lot of my tracks. I would definitely want some synth pads underneath there. So I want to give it a bit of a Muse kind of feel through the middle. So we want to have some synth pads in there. And we definitely want some big hitting rock drums. Rock drums to hit in there. So what I'm thinking, and again, it's you're going to hear me sort of use my mouth here. Sounds weird to actually go through this, but I've got that and then the so the drums are going to be like a so think a big like Pearl Jam kind of rock track drummer. That's the sort of drums that I'm going for here. Obviously a bass, we need like a bass, like a really sort of driving bass. So again, we're just using some words here that are going to spark me when I get to the point of actually recording this to go, that's right, I wanted those big hitting rock drums and I wanted the driving bass. Outside of that, that's kind of where we're at the moment. Now, what we might find is that the surprise element here may be some sort of surprise instrument coming in at some stage. So maybe there's a organ solo or maybe an electric piano or something else weird comes in sort of for a bridge or to add to that surprise. Because remember, you don't have to have just one hook and one surprise element. You can have multiple things. So the more you have in there, you don't want to overdo it, but sometimes you can go with like 2 different hooks and there's a different hook for the bridge that some people may enjoy or that you may want to put in there as well. So that's my instrumentation so far. We want some big heavy wall of guitars, some chorus and flange like we heard on the lead riff there. No acoustic guitars in this one. I don't think they're needed. Some synth pads to kind of pad it out and give it a bit of a feel. Big hitting rock drums and a driving bass. That's a good start there. Now the next one we're going to look at is the tempo, because it's important to start thinking about what speed we want our track. Now there's a bunch of different ways to work out your tempo. The way that I tend to do is to just play it in and try and sort of set up a tempo and then see if it's going to work. So I'm just going to use Bias FX here again because I'm already in it. I'm thinking, just in my head, I'm thinking the tempo is going to be a bit of a da 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 da. So it's actually going to be a slow song. Now, whether it's around 70 or like 140, whether it's a it's kind of it's hard to work out at this point because it'll depend on what I want to do with the drum pattern. But let's go with the original one. And at this point, I tend to go a little bit faster. I tend to find it easier to start faster and then go down a little bit as we go. So let's hit play on this metronome at 74 BPM and see if we can play along with this one. We'll turn up our guitar. There we are. And then we'll hit the play button here on the metronome and play along. So that's still feeling a little bit fast. I reckon it's probably more around that 70. And I might even put it up to the 140 to make it easier so that I can play on the beat a bit. Da, 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 like that. So we'll hit play again. There it is. Yeah, it's definitely at that sort of zone. So we can now add that in to our tempo. We'll turn that volume down on the guitar. We can add in the tempo here that it's going to be 70/140, depending if it's that half time or that double time beat. So that gives us an idea that we can start laying out our demo. We can do it at that speed, knowing, of course, we can change that and tweak that over time, but it's a good place to start. So back over to our notes here that we're building out, we can come in here to the tempo, and we know this is going to be 70/140 BPM. What about our topic and our feeling? So these two, I put the guitar away. These two are ones that I just need to sort of talk through and do a little bit of brainstorming about what that's going to be. So I'm going to hit pause on the video and just think for a couple of minutes about what I want this song to mean and be about, and then we'll come and fill this in. Okay, I've just taken 60 seconds just to sort of mull on this and have the chords in my head and just start thinking about some ideas. And the things that are coming to mind is new beginning, refresh, and sort of renew. So I write a lot of songs about, don't look back at the past and all these sort of things, and most of them have a bit of a negative connotation. The feeling, and we'll get to the feeling in a minute, what I'm sort of going with here is sort of a new beginning and a feel-good kind of summer vibe. We're coming into springtime here in Australia. I'm thinking the topic is going to be about that. In fact, I'll write the word spring here because that will give me a bit of a mental cue to say, yeah, this song, we want it to be about new beginning, about refreshing, renew, and coming into spring and having that feel-good kind of summer vibe, which takes us to our part 6 around feeling. Can I borrow a feeling? Yes, you can. But for now, we are going to work out what is the feel of this song. So what do I want people to feel listening to this song? Now, if you don't like the idea of writing a song for other people, what do you want to feel when you listen to this song? In fact, it's probably more important to know what you want to feel. So I want to feel uplifted. And I'm going to write in here Foo Fighters, not because I want to copy a Foo Fighters song, but I want to feel the way that I feel when I listen to My Hero, or I listen to a lot of my sort of favorite Foo Fighters kind of songs. So we're talking major keys here. And I think that the reason I'm writing a major key feel is that often I'll get to that sort of bridge and I'll be like, all right, let's throw it into its relative minor, because that's sort of the easy thing to do. But with this one, I really wanted to just start rocking and then continue rocking and then finish rocking super hard. So I want to write a rock song. I want it to give people that uplifted, positive, motivated feeling, and I want to use some major keys to really drive that home with those big crunchy distorted guitars, the drop D tuning, and all the rest of it. So there's my 6 sections. Let's just review what we've got so far and then work out where do we go to from here. So here it is, the finished plan or blueprint for my song. I know that the hook that I want to use is that lead riff on the D chord. The surprise at this stage is going to be the fact that it goes into a bit more of a rockin' kind of drop D kind of chord riff with some really heavy guitars. Instrumentation, we want some heavy acoustics, big wall of guitar, some chorus and flange effects. I'm going to have some fun playing around with some of the guitar amp sims. I just know it. I don't want acoustic guitars. This is going to be a full bore rock song. I want some synth pads, and I think I mentioned at the time a bit of a Muse feel. Again, just make notes here if you want to do this so that you can come back and go, why did I write that? Oh yeah, that's right. Big hitting rock drums and a big driving bass sound. Tempo is going to be that 70/140. The topic's going to be about new beginnings, refreshing, renewing, springtime, and the feeling. I want people to feel uplifted, like Dave Grohl has just delivered them an epic Foo Fighters song, and be sitting in the major key signatures. So that is it. That is my blueprint. Now, as I mentioned at the start, if you don't do things this way, that is totally cool. As I say, my opinion and my experience is what I'm sharing with you here. If you have a different way of doing things, that is super cool, as long as the end result is that you create, record, and release your best music. So I hope you got at least a tip or two out of this one that might help you with your songwriting experience. We are here in September 2020. This is the first video in my Songtember series. There'll be more videos down there if you're in the future. If you're watching this on the very first day, stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed because we've got a new video coming every day, and you can watch me create this entire song. And on the 30th of September, we will be releasing this sucker to the world. Thanks for being here again, folks. I'll see you next time.